Hey all, and welcome to Shadow Space. And today we're doing something that I've wanted to do for a while, but for one reason or another haven't ever done. As you're probably aware, June is coming up, and with it comes Pride. As someone who often struggles with the words and what they mean, I've decided to do a random video series about Pride, from my warped and often confused understanding of the topic, of course. So, what is Pride? According to the Library of Congress's website, and this is straight from their website, lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, and queer Pride Month is currently celebrated each year in the month of June to honor the 1969 Stonewall Uprising in Manhattan. The Stonewall Uprising was a tipping point for the gay liberation movement in the United States. In the United States, the last Sunday in June was initially celebrated as Gay Pride Day, but the actual day was flexible. In major cities across the nation, the day soon grew to encompass a month-long series of events. Today's celebrations include pride parades, picnics, parties, workshops, symposia, and concerts, and LGBTQ Pride Month events attract millions of participants around the world. Memorials are held during this month for those members of the community who have been lost to hate crimes or HIV/AIDS. The purpose of the commemorative month is to recognize the impact that gay, lesbian, bisexual, and transgender individuals have had on history, locally, nationally, and internationally. All this being said, I have no idea where two-spirit people, or intersex people, or asexual people, or the plus people come in all this. So, is this definition incomplete, that Pride Month is about honoring gay people and their contributions? Or is Pride Month actually just a month celebrating being gay? In a world where all the words no longer mean anything, where a male who identifies as a woman, who is in a relationship with a cis man, is in a straight relationship, it might be a good idea to get a bit of a refresher about the words mean, or try to, unless we're beyond standard definitions, in which case society is even worse off than people actually realize. Might not be too far off, I don't know. So, using the power of the internet and AI for the month of June, we're going to be diving into sex, sexuality, gender, and everything this monthly event actually stands for, which, to me, is really a celebration of the human organism and sexuality. So, we're starting off fundamental with what sex even is. The first and most obvious definition is sexual intercourse, which is the act of mating in humans. It's kind of what the month is really about, even though the sorts of intercourse celebrated during the month don't really have anything to do with reproduction. Although, also obviously, some animals that aren't human also engage in sexual intercourse, so I suppose you could argue that it's really just the act of mating in general. However, sexual intercourse isn't the only form of reproduction, or even sexual reproduction, even if these things aren't actually referred to as sex. Sex can also refer to those characteristics that define sexually dimorphic species, like humans or even whales. Distinctions can include hormone levels, body shape and size, as well as genetics. But this definition is more used to classify the different sexes into categories, mostly for identification purposes. That isn't to say that, say, a male and female cardinal don't have differences, but it more references those differences between the two without necessarily referencing how they mate or reproduce, even though the most apparent distinction would be the differences in the sex organs between the pair and their respective roles in reproduction. At its most basic, sex is the combining of genetics between two organisms for the purposes of reproduction. Not exactly the method by which it happens, so not exactly intercourse, but also not necessarily how sexually dimorphic members of the same species differ for the purposes of reproduction. So I guess it would go something like this. Intercourse is the mechanism by which sexual reproduction can occur. An individual's sex are those characteristics that distinguish it from other members of the same species, and sexual reproduction refers to how genetic information is exchanged between two organisms to create genetically diverse offspring. Despite sex being a method of reproduction, there are actually methods by which organisms reproduce that don't involve an exchange in genetics. So next we're going to talk about these methods, asexual and sexual reproduction.